The best way to spread Christmas cheer is singing loud for all to hear.
I just think that worship is easy to fake. It's easy to kind of go through the motions because we're pros at it, right? We know how to do it. We know the light setting. We know the chords to hit. We know.
This is when I raise my hand. Hold the 4 chord, everyone. I'm going to raise my hand.
Every Sunday, I want you to run into your flesh like a brick wall. And I want you to make a decision in that moment. Am I going to succumb to the weakness of my flesh, or am I going to cater to the willingness of my spirit?
I'd love to see more worship sets, more churches, kind of keep Bubba in mind.
Honestly, I don't really care.
No, Bubba didn't die for me.
So you've been preaching some awesome messages on worship.
Let's go. Thank you.
And what worship is, maybe what worship is not.
Probably more important.
Yeah, probably today, because I do feel like we get really caught up in we kind of pigeonhole what worship is. You know, worship is, me in the morning with my coffee, and the vibe is it's vibes.
Yes.
Worship and vibes are basically the same thing. Is it really worshipful if it's not vibey?
Yeah. You
No,
set the mood. The candles,
yeah,
your favorite song.
Yeah, it's come on, this is not worship. This is boring. I need it to feel good.
Yeah.
And so maybe walk us through, some of where your head's been on teaching our church specifically what worship is and the right way to go about worshiping God.
Yeah. No, that's great. I think that what we've talked about, and when you look at worship, you have to remove the expression from the actual meaning of what it is. Because all throughout the Bible, and you know this, our resident theologian, you read through the Bible and you see various forms of worship. You see sacrifices, you see offerings of gold, silver, you see songs, the whole book of Psalms is that. So you see a lot of these different expressions, and they all qualify as worship. It's all worship to the Lord. Even Lamentations is this beautiful kind of picture of a side of worship that not a lot of people, they might go walk through, but they don't even maybe qualify it as worship themselves. But this idea of mourning with the Lord is worshipful.
What a good example.
Yeah, it's so amazing. So you have these expressions of worship, but what is worship actually? And so I landed on just a very simple idea of worship, is that it is the creature placing value and honor and adoration on the Creator.
That's really good.
There's a lot of different ways you do that, and the expression is how we deliver that to Him. So it changes. It changes with the season we're in. It changes with the circumstances we go through. But what doesn't change is that my worship is looking at Him, valuing Him, honoring Him, and pouring my love out on Him. So sometimes that looks like bringing an offering to the church and giving monetarily. Sometimes that looks like lifting my hands and singing. Sometimes that looks like serving my family or my neighborhood or people around me. But all of that is me loving Jesus and pouring my love on Him. And so I think just separating that, because a lot of people think that worship is the Spotify playlist that they click in the morning, but it's not just songs. It's not just singing songs. And maybe we can touch on why songs are important, because I think it's really cool. But before just kind of laying out just what worship is, it is loving Jesus. And I'll say this, I think that worship is so important to the heart of God, not because He needs our worship. It's not because He's egotistical,
exactly.
He's not what's that Santa Claus, the Elf movie, where it's I need people to believe in me, and then they all sing in Central Park, and then his sleigh is able to fly.
The best way to spread Christmas cheer is singing loud for all to hear.
Best way to spread Christmas cheer is singing loud for all to hear.
Yes, that is how so many Christians think worship exists. We all come together on Sunday morning, we sing our favorite song to Jesus, and Jesus is finally, power.
Christmas cheer.
yeah, my sleigh can fly.
Yeah.
Santa Claus is coming to town.
Yeah, no, that's not what the Lord is needing from us. Worship actually, it's so interesting. Worship is not to us, but it's for us. In a weird way, because it doesn't add or take away anything from God. He's immutable, He's unchanging. Worship doesn't affect Him in any significant way. Worship changes us. So worship, to adore something, you have to get out of your own way. You have to say, okay, I'm not the center of my universe. I have to look at what the center is. It's the Lord. And when you are bestowing love and honor and adoration to him, you're taking the proper place as a creature.
Yeah.
You know, and there's so many things that we can go into, but I think worship is so important. It's not for us, it's not to us, but it's for us. It rightly aligns us with the Lord. And so every Christian, regardless of the expression of worship, that is our purpose, is to worship God.
Yes.
So it's so important. So it really is my heart that people would understand worship more as a Christian, because you know, it's not a song, it's not these expressions, it's deeper than that. It's your heart.
No, that's really good. One of the things that actually Pastor Brady and I have talked about for many years is this idea of form versus substance. And especially I think in Pentecostal circles, but it's not just us, it's across the board, but I've seen it a little bit more in Pentecostal circles just because our form is very, like our style is pretty distinct in a lot of ways. I think where we can kind of get into fault is like we care subconsciously, not really always realizing we care more of form than actual substance. So like the substance of the thing is always more important than the form of the thing. And just because something looks a certain way does not always mean it has the substance of the thing. So like maybe a quick example is like preaching. Like I've known a lot of young preachers that they're putting more effort in kind of emulating a style. Yeah. It's kind of like this style, this vibe that they're going for, and their sermon's like, you didn't say anything at all, bro.
You got the preaching voice down. You know, you sound so good, but you
like there's not, just because you're yelling does not make the substance of what you're saying any more effective or less effective. Like there's something to be said of like public speaking and the way you communicate.
There's a cadence
and, you know,
to it.
The ethos versus the pathos and the whatever. Like get it. Yeah, for sure. But like we can get so caught up in the form of the thing that we actually completely miss the substance of the thing. And like what's obviously more important is the substance of the thing.
Way more.
What maybe be more impactful for me in my offering to the Lord is to sit in a well-lit room, to sing a song to an out-of-tune guitar, to this guy who can't carry a tune. And it's like, you know what? But it's
just oil, bro. Oil.
But it's a sweet fragrance to the Lord. It's
so
the sweet
good.
aroma to God.
Yeah.
Is that not what's more important of the thing? It's like exactly what you talked about in your message. It's like, here's this old widow lady. She has two little pennies. She drops dink dink into the offering plate, and Jesus is like, hold up. Worship just happened. This right here, she gave more than all these other guys that were dropping bands in the offering plate. None of that even mattered. The form, who cares?
It was empty.
It was empty. The substance of this offering is way outweighs, so much so outweighs what everyone else could do.
Yeah. And the crazy thing about that is you can fool everyone around you. You can cry, you can jump, you can give big offerings, you can fool all of us. But God sees your heart. Yeah. And he knows. And you cannot trick him into trying to communicate to the Lord outwardly what does not exist in here. So as you're trying to cry and weep and dance and do all this stuff, like you're literally doing what the prophets of Baal did on Mount Carmel. Wow. Trying to emotionally manipulate God and like send fire. And Elijah's like, what are you doing? Is your God on the bathroom? You know, is he going to the bathroom? It's like, that is not how we as Christians worship the Lord. It's not an emotional, like, I just need to get God's attention, so I'm going to yell and scream. Yeah. There's a substance, there's a heart cry that he's looking for. And I believe that's the heart cry that David had, you know, as Saul is just being a goofball there in 1 Samuel. And I just read it a few days ago that Samuel prophesies to Saul and says, listen, the Lord says that he's looking for somebody who's after his heart, and he's found someone. And I just imagine, I mean, I don't know how old David was at that moment, but I imagine he was very young. And I can just imagine the Lord just looking through the land of Israel, and his eye rests on David in the field, maybe 8, 9, 10 years old. And he just has this heart that's like, Lord, I don't even really know you, but like there's something in me that loves you. No, it's good. And the Lord sees him and knows him. And so I just think that worship is easy to fake. It's easy to like kind of go through the motions because we're pros at it, right? Like we know how to do it. We know the light setting. We know the chords to hit. We know.
This is when I raise my hand. Hold the 4 chord, everyone. I'm going to raise my hand.
Exactly. And then the sound team's queued up for the bright lights when the bridge hits, you know, like it's all.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an art, man. It's an art, and music is beautiful and it moves us emotionally. And that's why people cry at John Mayer concerts. And like, you know, it's an art. And unfortunately, sometimes the church can slip into formulating the art and not worshiping Jesus.
Yeah. I've seen TikToks of like people that have deconstructed, and they're like, I deconstructed my faith because I went to church and then I just realized I just like concerts.
Yeah. I don't love Jesus. I just like music.
I just like live music. Oh, wow. I remember there's this one.
So funny. Well, not funny.
I don't know if I should get into all this, but there was this one person who was commenting on a thing, and they were like, I noticed that like they're just trying to manipulate. They play the minor chord when they're trying to do this, and they turn the air conditioning on at a certain point. This is what they're saying. They turn the air conditioning on to kind of get the colder, so they feel like whatever. And I'm like, I don't know if any church is actually that smart. You know?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to think not, but you never know these days.
You know, like if Elevation has their own scent fragrance. You hear about that?
Like Hollister? Is that a real thing?
No, that's a real thing.
What?
They have a patented fragrance that they put in all of their buildings.
That's crazy.
Because your brain associates things with smell.
Yeah.
You know, and Disney does this too.
That's awesome.
Disney World pumps out like certain smells.
I want a Fountain Gate fragrance.
I know we should do one. That'd be great.
Amazing. All right, we're going to work on that.
It'd have to smell like a fountain, like stale water.
Never mind. Our foyer kind of smells like that with the fountain in there, honestly. It's so funny. No, it's so good though. But I mean, I think it is. I think it exposes the heart, you know, because it's easy to do that. It's easier to get a formula down, an equation down, and just rinse and repeat than actually like seek the Lord, you know?
No, that's really good.
It's easy to do that as a worship leader, as a pastor, as ministry leaders. It's easy to get the right song in the right key, and that's predictable. But what's hard is to come to the Holy Spirit and say like, hey, we want you here. We want your presence, and we want to worship you in spirit and in truth. And you have to wrestle with your heart. You have to wrestle with the inward man. You can leave the inward man and just get everything externally ready and prepared, and it would be great. No one would know.
Yep.
But it's going to be empty and not worshipful. So
Yep.
It's really good, man. I think so let's look through. Everybody knows kind of songs. Why do we sing songs in church? Why is that important? Why is it, what are songs worship?
Yes. Yeah. So St. Augustine said, he who sings prays twice. And I love that. He who sings prays twice. There was another person, I forget who it was. Oh, I can't pull this out. But basically like this person said, I'll try to look it up, says, I don't care who makes the laws as long as I get to write the songs. Because his belief was that like music will move culture.
Yeah.
So I don't care who writes the laws as long as I get to write the songs.
Absolutely.
And I think there's truth to that because there is such a power in music. We are wired musically.
Yes.
That's an innate thing that is in every person. I forgot, it was like Mick Jagger or somebody said, no, it wasn't him. But there was somebody that said the 3 desires that are in every person is to eat, procreate.
Make love.
I'll use that word. Make love. We'll say that. Yeah. And music.
Yeah.
And honestly, he kind of has a
always
point.
Like tap in and it just kind of comes.
The 3 desires that are in every person are those 3. Music is part of that. And then you can make an argument. Genesis chapter 1. It's been said maybe that it was written more as a song. This is why exactly. So like Genesis 1 and then Genesis 2 repeat certain things. I don't think Genesis 1 is trying to make a scientific argument about creation. It was maybe written as a song, and so it was a song that was sung and passed down. So a lot of what Genesis is actually oral tradition that then Moses eventually wrote down for the children of Israel while they were in the wilderness. Right. And then C.S. Lewis took this idea and in Chronicles of Narnia, The Magician's Nephew, they're going through all these different worlds and portals and stuff, and Aslan's there, and he's singing this song that's creating the world, Same with Lord of the Rings, Alu Avatar, whatever, the god basically of Tolkien's universe of Lord of the Rings. It's the song of, I can't think of it, Brady knows it, but it's a song basically that's created the world. It's kind of this idea. And music is just an innate part of us because I think it's part of God, and it's really like a
it's really good.
vehicle that he uses for us to do things and remember things.
Mm-hmm.
Even Irenaeus, the heretic in the early church, what caught Arianism to catch on so much, which is the belief that Jesus was a created being. He's not
Right.
co-equal with God. It's the belief that he was part of creation.
Yeah.
He once was not, and then he was. And so he put it to a catchy tune. And it was songs that would be sung and sung around.
Yeah.
And that's part of what made that heresy spread so much was songs, because these are these things that get caught in us. And so I think it's a really cool idea and tool that God uses for us really to know him and remember him more. Like Augustine said, he who sings praise twice.
Yeah, that's so good. I remember I preached, this was months ago now. I preached what I felt like was one of the best messages I've ever preached. You know, got off the stage and you're just like, that was amazing. Everyone's life has changed. You're welcome. Just go home, a new creation, you know? And I was on Facebook and somebody commented on the service, and their comment was, what was that song that we sang during worship? And I just remember seeing that like, golly, man, like nothing, you got nothing for me, you know, which is funny. But I think it speaks to something so true that worship or music, and specifically worship music, forms theology more than a message could, more than a preacher could, you know, and I think that's what you're getting at. And I think that's why it's so, honestly, and I'm going to try to do this in as much of a positive tone as I can, but I carry a lot of frustration with the music industry, the Christian music industry, because we have prioritized and valued talent over intellect and theology and spirituality. And so if you can hit the note, you get to write songs and be on stages and do all of that stuff, and we celebrate it, but you don't know who the Lord is. Like, and the songs reflect that, you know, our worship music reflects that. I was kind of picking on that song. I forget what it's called, Sunday, but you are good. Oh, you know, it's like, okay, great. That's what you got, you know, as far as theology goes, you got your good. Oh, you know, it's like, come on, man. Like and then you hear songs like Great Is Thy Faithfulness and all of these old hymns where these worshipers deeply knew God and deeply understood his character.
The theology is just so rich.
Every
in those hymns.
word
I mean, it's incredible.
is weighty. I mean, you can take one word out of any of those hymns and it weighs more than the majority of the songs today. And so I think that the church could really benefit from valuing more the nature, the character, the theology of God, and maybe like you obviously writing more, but there are songs out there, you know. And so I would encourage our people and any church leader that's listening, like, don't be afraid to sing Great Is Thy Faithfulness, because the Lord sprints to the room when you start singing that song, you know. Like it is so anointed and thick, and that's the ultimate goal. It is to get Jesus in the room, not to fill a bunch of butts with seats to get people from your city to come. Like, that's great, but the priority in worship is that you're speaking to him. Like, you're not talking to people, you're talking to Jesus, you're talking to his heart, and that's the high goal, high priority of worship, is to get Jesus in the room. You know, and so many people, the goal is, I had a friend I was showing him this song that had Yahweh in the, you know, obviously the song, and he was like, man, I love the song, but we probably wouldn't be able to do this in my church because it says Yahweh, and like we don't want to make people feel weird about. Yeah.
Why?
Well, that's what I said. I was like, wait, that's God's name. What do you mean? And the idea was like, we don't want to make people feel uncomfortable.
What's uncomfortable about that?
I don't know, but my response was like, don't you want Yahweh there? Like, wouldn't you want him to feel comfortable? You know, like you want him to feel comfortable in your room, not people.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, that's tough.
Didn't Brandon Lake, he had that kind of semi-famous quote. It went kind of semi-viral maybe a year or two ago, that like he wants Bubba to be comfortable in the back.
Yeah. I'd love to see more worship sets, more churches, like kind of keep Bubba in mind. The guy who's like in the back of the room. Like when your first song is like, holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty. I think he's going like, what does holy mean? Holy, like what? Obviously that's where we want to get to in a worship set. But like give Bubba some language he can be like, I find myself in that song. I feel like that.
Honestly, I don't really care.
No, Bubba didn't die for me.
Bubba didn't die for me. And I want Bubba there.
For sure.
And I think there's a level that I think it's more than making Bubba comfortable. I want to make God comfortable in the room. And then in doing that, God can be the one to change Bubba,
Yeah.
because I can't.
No.
You know, I'm not going to be the one that saves Bubba's soul. And
Yes.
so I am going to be hospitable in the best I can. I'm going to try to assimilate Bubba in the best I can.
Love him.
I'm going to love him. Like, of course, I'll do whatever we need to do as a church to help Bubba receive the gospel. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to sacrifice biblical truth or water things down. See, this is really my biggest beef with this whole conversation. Is it kind of hits the heart of like preference-based church. I go to church based on my preferences. And I think I've talked about this before, but the whole like Yelp review Christianity, Google review Christianity.
Yeah.
Well, this church just didn't have a good program for my kids. So they didn't sing this song. The lights were blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
I literally don't care. Has God called you to the church?
Yes.
And
Yes.
you know, and I've also said this before, like, but the purpose of the church is threefold and in this order. Number one is to worship God.
Yes. Yes.
Before anything.
Yes.
When we come to church, you are there to give something before you are there to receive something.
100%.
You're there to get. We're a nations of priests. You can go
Yes.
read through the Old Testament and see God has always wanted a nation of priests.
Yep. That's right.
Even with Mount Sinai, it was God's original intention that the people would come up.
Yeah.
But they're like, no, I'm too scared. Moses,
Yeah.
you go talk to God. I ain't going up there. So Moses comes up and then allows God's teaching to come down. And so then what does Jesus do? Jesus, he brings his people up to the mountain. Jesus came down. He died so that we could all come up.
Ascend the hill of the Lord.
Ascend the hill of the Lord,
That's
as it
it.
says in Psalms. That's exactly
So
right.
good.
And so it's like, where I am here first, I would rather piss every person off and make God happy. And I'll have a church of 4 people.
Yes. And you'll have him there. And that's the
Not
biggest...
necessarily have a church of 4 people, but like if that's what it comes
Yeah,
to,
if that's what it takes.
Then yeah, I'm down.
Yeah. Well, even with the Bubba example, like that's what Bubba needs. He needs the Lord.
Yeah.
He needs the Lord. Because when he comes to church, and I know this is going to be a little bit controversial, but I'm sorry. Like when you come to church, I'm not going there to be encouraged. I don't need to feel good about myself. I don't need to be uplifted. I don't need to be strengthened through song. I mean, a lot of these songs talk more about the person than they do the Lord. And we don't need any of that as Christians. What we need is we need to get ourselves out of the center of the universe and look at Jesus and glorify him as creator. And when we do that, we take our proper place as creature. And one of the things that we talked about Sunday was this idea that for men specifically, let's take Bubba, let's take men as an example, that we are by nature providers. We're by nature people who come to like the buck stops with us, you know, like we take the responsibility for our family, for our workplace. Like we are individuals that carry the majority of the weight in our world.
Yeah.
You can't do that without God.
Yeah, no.
And when you are at the center of your life, you will put all that weight on your shoulders and it will crush you. And so when I say that worship is not to you, you're not sitting here talking about how great you are and how strong you are as a man and you're doing great. No, worship is not to you.
Yeah.
It's for you. When you come to God and you say, no, God, I'm the creature. You're the creator. You're the omnipotent, almighty, all-powerful God. I am not. I'm here to worship you. I'm here to exalt you. What you do is you put that weight on him. And he then becomes the provider. You're worshiping the creator, and that weight of carrying and being responsible, you realize that's not yours to carry. Yeah. You're a creature in this, and it's his weight to carry, and he does it beautifully. So this is the power of worship. It's not about like making you feel better, making you feel empowered. It's about revealing to us that we're not God, that we are the creatures, that we have somebody greater than us, mightier than us, holier than us, and we can come to him like a strong tower when we need him, you know? Yeah. And that is what worship does for us. It reminds us of who we are. Yeah. Reminds us that we are but dust, vapor. And that's why it's imperative that we worship. And I love song because what it does is that, and we did this Sunday as a little example, but I like song because what it does is it unifies the body in such a beautiful way. You know, if you take a room of 100 people and you say, hey, why don't you all just praise the Lord? It's going to be TV static, you know, like it's just going to be chaos. But if we start singing a song, we start singing Great is Thy Faithfulness, like one voice in unison, we get to offer something up beautiful to the Lord as one body, you know?
That's really good.
And I think that that's really what Jesus, you know, when Jesus says in Matthew that like where 2 or 3 are gathered, there I am, you know? There is a unique special anointing in the fellowship of the saints, but more specifically the prayer and the worship of his people.
Yeah.
Why? Because in song, two individuals become one, become one voice. And that's amazing when you get to do that with hundreds of people, thousands of people. You gather with the saints and you lift up one prayer, one song to the Lord.
That's good.
It does something that nothing else can do. Nothing else can do that but song and music. It's beautiful. And I think that's why we sing at church. That's what's most important, is to lift up that worship to Jesus.
No, it's really good. This is what Gregory the Great kind of made popular. This is the Gregorian chant, comes from Gregory the Great. Because he kind of popularized this idea of singing specific songs and creating songs and specific songs for the church to sing, sing together for that unity. But I think worship is, if I could just take just a second and like demystify the word worship for a second. Sure. Because I think sometimes when we hear the word worship, we think of like, I don't know, some Buddhist with a gong saying Om, or, whatever. We think of like, Muslims praying down to the east, and, kind of, it's this very, very like almost mystical thing. Sure. And there's obviously, it's a very spiritual truth, obviously, of course. But everybody worships.
Yes. That's
everyone is worshiping something.
That's right.
Always.
Yeah.
Your worship is, I love how you kind of put it. It's when you are putting your value, adoration, what was the other word? Reverence towards something.
Yes.
So you are always in a state of worshiping something.
That's right.
This is why it's so important that we worship God, because you become what you worship.
Yes.
Whatever you are worshiping, whatever you're ascribing value and adoration and reverence towards, you are going to become like that
thing. You move in that direction.
You move in that direction. This is why God's not an egomaniac saying, worship me or else, I'm going to be sad.
Yeah.
No, it's saying, I want you to have the life that I have, that it can only be found in God. I want you to live. So worship me, because outside of me, there's no life.
There's nothing. Yes. That's so good. A.W. Tozer talks so much about that. And that's one of the things that's like, you said it so well. That's why the Lord is opening this opportunity up for us. He's not a egomaniac saying, worship me, worship me. He's saying, listen, you trust me? Because everything else in this planet will crush you. It will destroy you. But you can come to me for life, Yeah. That's so good. And I want to just kind of touch on even the preaching, even what the other things that we do on Sunday mornings. I talked about this a couple weeks ago, but my goal, and I don't know if this is necessarily right or wrong, but my goal is that every Christian would end in worship. Like we took all last year and we preached through the attributes of God. Yeah. And that is not for me an attempt to stuff people's head with knowledge. Like I don't care about that.
Right.
I love that you know the Lord. That's wonderful, but love is always or knowledge is unto something else. Yes. It's unto love. And so like the whole purpose of even the preaching, in my opinion, and there's some other, more instructive kind of things that we do, but like the whole purpose of the preaching is so that you could understand God in a way that you haven't understood him, and you can worship him for it.
Yes, accurately. Yes, worship him accurately.
Rightly,
Rightly.
And that's the goal of all of it, is that just like Isaiah 6, that Isaiah saw the Lord, and he saw him rightly, and he saw him high and lifted up, and that's what you need as a Christian. Your heart always is chasing after that. And that's why we consistently open this book and we're reading it and we're studying it. That's why we come to church. That's why like Christians should go to church. I've been arguing with so many people online about like, no, it's crazy to think about like, you just say, hey, church is great. And they're like, no, it's the worst thing ever. It's like, are you Christian? Yeah, I love the Lord. It's like, okay, well, no, you're not. It's insane. Anyways, but that's why this is important, is because when we open the scripture, when we learn about God, when we know him, we have an opportunity to step into a place of worship that we haven't been before. And that's why you see, even in the Bible, you see the angels and the creatures and the elders all saying, holy, holy, holy. Why are they doing that? Because they're consistently, they're seeing the Lord, and they're impressed by what they see. Yes. They're undone by what they see. And that's the Christian life. It is the continuation of looking at him, being undone by him, and saying, oh my goodness, you are incredible. I need to see more. And then you see something else about him, and then you're undone, and you keep coming back for more. And he's our daily bread, and he's our breath, he's our life, like he's everything. And that's our life for not just the 80 years we're here, but that's eternity.
Yeah.
And that is something that when you start to know him, see him rightly, worship can't help but pour out of you. Like it's not something that you have to try to manufacture. It's the natural response of a human being.
Yes.
Worship to God is the natural response of a human being. I think of like Mary when she walked into that room with her alabaster box, like, and washed the feet of Jesus and anointed him and washed his feet with her tears and her hair and all of this stuff. Did she plan that? Probably. She probably thought it through, but it was something that you can tell was compelling her. Like it was almost coming out of her without like her having to put too many of the pieces together. It was like, there's something in me and I have to do this, and that's the heart of worship. The expression changes, but the heart of worship is this compelled adoration for the Lord. And you will do that. You don't have to try or strive at it. And it doesn't have to be a song. It doesn't have to be a gift. Like what I tell people oftentimes is just to sit in your room and think about him. Think about Jesus. Take something. I do this often. I think about his passion. I think about that time from the Garden of Gethsemane to when he was buried in that tomb.
Yeah.
And I just sit there and I play it in my mind. And I just imagine him standing there with black eyes, half a beard, blood and spit pouring down his face, and I just think about that. And I look at him and I'm like, oh my goodness. And that's worship. That is you worshiping the Lord. Or think about his faithfulness. Think about his patience with you. Think about these things. And that's why it's important for these songs to pull this out of you, not just encourage you. But that's worship. It is the heart's gazing on Jesus and being like, oh my goodness. Yeah. So beautiful.
No, it's good. We're saying all of this not at the expense of people or people's experience in church. Because I do want people to have a good experience in church. Yeah. But it's more of like, it's a hierarchy in how we do it.
Yes.
And so like, I can't allow, at home, Paula makes all the meals really. I really never cook at all. But, Paula has kind of a meal plan she does. She likes to meal prep and do her stuff throughout the week, and it's great. Makes life easy for us. But sometimes Paula will make something that my sons don't really care for. My sons want to eat ice cream and Paw Patrol gummies. Yeah. That's what they want. Yeah. And so sometimes when we take and we make church all about the lowest common denominator, what we're doing is like, okay, Benjamin, what are we having for dinner? Okay, ice cream and Paw Patrol gummies?
Every night. Let's go.
Every night? This is actually not going to be healthy.
Right.
Like this is actually going to probably do you some harm.
That's so good.
It may be fine once in a while. Yeah. We do an outreach kind of thing and it's ice cream. I won't say no. There's room. Yes. I'll leave room. Yes. I'll leave margin. Yeah. But every Sunday morning, we're doing this super ice cream, Paw Patrol, Cool Whip sermons. Guys, this is I actually think we may be doing some harm here. Yes. We're leaving out some really good nutrients that people need to grow.
That's so good.
This isn't like at this expense of like, oh, well, forget what people want, church needs to be hard for you. Well, that's not the heart of what we're saying. No. The heart of what we're saying is we want to be accurate to the Word of God.
Yes.
And I think some of this problem comes because during World War II, all the men went off to war. And so a lot of the church at that time was mainly just women. Yeah. And so the church really became effeminate. It was very effeminized. Yeah. And so we see church today. I know several even men in my own life that they struggle going to church because it just feels like a chick's thing. Yeah. It's about how God's ooey gooey lovey dovey. Yeah. And we sing these songs that are, switch out God for, Jason.
Tyler. Yeah. And now he's your boyfriend.
Now he's your boyfriend. And it's just this cute little love song or whatever. It's what is going on? And like, there needs to be, I think, a sense of like strong teaching. Yes. And a sense of like masculinity back in the church of like, this is truth, whether you like it or not. Yeah. This is truth. Eat your steak and potatoes because it's good for you. I understand it may not be as sweet as you want it to be, Benjamin, 6-year-old, but it's good for you, and you have to eat this so you can grow and be healthy. This is why sometimes these songs that are just lovey and good, there's a place for that. Sure. But the angels circling around God right now are not singing love, 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 love. They're not singing Jireh, 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 Jireh. Those are all great spiritual truths, but that's not what they're singing. They're singing holy, 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 holy
Yes.
is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to
Yes.
come.
That's
And
so
the
good.
number one word that's used to describe God throughout the Bible, it's mentioned over 400 times, is the word holy.
Yes.
What does holy
So
mean? It
good.
means he's set apart.
Yes.
It means he is other. It means he
different.
is high and lifted up. He is
Yes.
different.
Yep.
And so when we're coming before God, we are singing this. We're putting him in his right place,
Yeah.
and I'm putting me
Yes.
in my right place.
And that's the most important thing, because like we say that we're putting him in his right place, but we don't affect him. It is you. It is he's
Yes,
putting
that's
you
good.
in your right
Yes,
place.
that's
you
good.
know?
That's good.
That's so good, dude. There's so many things. Catherine Kuhlman talked a lot about worship,
Yeah.
and she talked a lot about how, we do sing songs about ourselves, and that's not worship. Like it, and I want to make the distinction in the category, because there's genres. I'm not talking about genre.
Right.
We're not talking about Christian contemporary music. We're talking about classifying something as worship. Like, I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. Mm-hmm. That's not worship. I'm sorry. And I'm sorry if it's your favorite song, really. And I think this is important to say. Is that true? Yes, it's true.
Yeah.
You're not a slave to fear.
Yeah.
Yes, you're a child of God. So we're not saying that this is heretical or false.
No.
These are true aspects of your standing with God. But you're not worshiping God by singing a song like that. What you're doing, honestly, is you're kind of worshiping yourself. You're looking at yourself and talking about how great you are and how awesome you are, and how much God has made you this and that. And it's just, you're not looking at him, like you just said, and saying, holy, holy, holy. You're looking at yourself and encouraging yourself. Again, time and place for that. In a worship moment, not the time, not the place.
Yeah,
It is imperative that when we classify worship, we are speaking to him and we're speaking about him. And there's testimony. There's Moses does this a lot, and the Psalms do this a lot. Like we're testifying of the faithfulness of God in our life, and that's true. But there's a very clear line when you cross over testifying to, this is just about me, And a lot of current songs, they make that distinction. Another thing Catherine Kuhlman talks about is the boyfriend trend, that Jesus is my boyfriend, and he's my homeboy, and he's just like, I can switch out the name of God or Jesus for Jason, Tyler, and it still makes sense. No, you can't, because worship's powerful when you begin to talk about the uniquely true attributes of who God is. When you begin to declare who God is, that in attributes and ways that are uniquely true to him, that is when worship gets really tasteful and really amazing. Why? Because he is holy, or the definition of he is other, he is different. So when you look at God's faithfulness and you begin to worship him in his faithfulness, he is faithful. His faithfulness is unique to him. He is faithful unlike anyone else. And so I can talk about his faithfulness, and it cannot be mistaken for Tyler or Jason. These are facts that are only true about God. I can talk about his immutability. I can talk about his omnipotence, omnipresence. I can talk about all of this stuff that is uniquely true to him, because it can't be mistaken for anyone else. Yeah. And this is where worship begins to get really powerful, because you begin to see the contrast between our humanity and his divinity. You begin to see yourself in a way that is unfortunately true. Like, we are broken, we are miserable, we are destitute, we're falling apart without the Lord. And then you contrast that with his beauty and his faithfulness, his consistency, his love, his compassion, all of these things that are unique to him. And that's where you begin to worship him as the creator, and you the creature. Yeah. And that is just like, it's my favorite place to live. That's why, honestly, I think, like, that's why I do what I do. That is everything summed up for Dominic in that idea, is that I want to personally do this, and I want to help people do this. Give them the tools, the resources, the information they need to worship that way. Yeah. I want you to learn about God's immutability. I want you to know about his faithfulness. I want you to learn these things so that your heart can come alive. Yes. So that you can begin to worship him in that way. One of the things that Paul talks about in Romans, and I don't know if you were going to go there or not, you were jotting some things down, but
that's good.
And this is contextually more bad, like he's talking about really bad bad people here when he talks about, therefore, in Romans chapter 1, verse 24, it says, therefore, for God also gave them up to uncleanness in the lusts of their hearts to dishonor their bodies among themselves. And then he says this, who exchanged the truth of God for the lie, who worshiped and served the creature rather than the creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. And although, sure, like we're talking about people that rejected God and walked away from him, and God gave them over to their wicked hearts. Listen, the same is true for Christians. You know, I'm not going to say the outcome is that you'll be given over to wickedness, but the principle of exchanging the truth of God for the lie. What is the lie? Yep. That the creature deserves worship instead of the creator. Yes. That is the same boat. The church is in the same boat right there as the world. And a lot of the way we worship God is that we've exchanged this truth that is uniquely his. Mm-hmm. It's not ours. It's uniquely his. And we've exchanged it, and we've put ourselves in the middle of it. And we've sing songs to ourselves. We sing songs about ourselves. We sing songs to Jason and Tyler, who, if we change the name, it could be about the Lord. It could not be. It could be about my boyfriend in 7th grade, or it could be about Jesus. Like, this is not worship. Yeah. This is insanity. Worship is putting the Creator here and stepping back and just admiring him.
No, that's good. And this is why, I mean, that chapter is such a good example of you are what you worship. You become what you worship.
Very good.
They are worshiping the creature instead of the creation. And what happens? Yeah. They start defiling themselves. They start doing things that are unnatural against God. Why? Yeah, because you are what you worship, and you lose that.
It's a slippery slope.
The thing that I would just encourage people with is we have to, in every relationship you have, you know, I have to let people self-define. You know, I can't really put certain expectations on you, Pastor Dom, as my friend and as my pastor, I can't put certain expectations on without really breaking our friendship. Well, Dom, you have to text me at this time. You have to talk to me in this way. You have to like the things that I like. You know, sorry, I don't like golf, so we're not going to go play golf. We're going to go play Fortnite at my house or whatever. Yeah. You know, like at a certain point, it's like,
I'm not coming over.
We're not friends. Like we're not, you are who you are. Yeah. And me trying to be a good friend, I have to admire you for who you are in that personality. You self-define. Yes. And in the same way, like, we have to allow God to self-define. Yes. I cannot just put my own spin, and I'm only going to sing about the parts of God that I like, and I'm going to ignore the parts that make me uncomfortable. Yeah. You know, Dom, I'm only going to hang out with you, you know, when you really have something for me, when you're buying me a round of golf because I like you then, and when you want to come over to my house and have me cook for you, that doesn't interest me,
I don't want to do that.
We're not going to do that. Like, what a terrible friend.
Yeah,
like that doesn't work. We have to let God self-define and love him accurately. It's exactly what you're saying. Yeah, this is why we study this book. This is why we want to know more about him. It's not so I can have some trivia so I can win at Bible night, trivia night. No, it's because I want to love God for who he actually is. Yes. This is why the second commandment, don't make any graven images. Why? Because you don't get to define what God looks like.
Yes. That's
you don't get to decide what God looks like. Right. God is the one who decides what God looks like. And you just have to worship him in spirit and in truth. Spirit being, God is spirit, and those who worship him have to worship in spirit and truth. Yes. Spirit in his terms and in truth, accurately. Yes. Worship him on his terms, not your own, and in truth, what he's said to be true about himself.
Yeah, not what you feel. Not what you feel. Want to be true. Right. It is who God is. And I just want to address really quickly the comfortability kind of idea too in church. I think that there is a line that the Christian should get to in order for worship not to count, because again, I don't get to define what counts for God. But I do know this to be true, that worship in the Bible is oftentimes deeply sacrificial. You see David do this at the end of 2 Samuel, where he sins and God's beginning to judge him, and he says, hey, go to this guy's field and sacrifice there. And he goes to the guy and he's like, hey, can I sacrifice on this field? And he says, you know what? I'm going to give you the land. I'm going to give you the cattle. I'm going to give you everything you need to make the sacrifice. Yeah. And David says, hold up. I am not going to offer God something that doesn't cost me anything.
Yeah.
And so when you look at what worship is, I mean, the widow's mite, you see that Jesus specifically addresses this. She gave all that she had.
Yeah.
There was a price tag, there was a cost associated with worship. And so when we look at going out of our way to make people comfortable in worship, I honestly think we're doing them a disservice.
Yeah.
We're robbing the
That's so
opportunity for them to actually worship, because everything is preferential. Everything is nice. Everything's easy. You're singing my favorite songs. The lights are low so no one can see me scrolling on my phone instead of actually lifting my hands. And then, the worship set only lasts for 15 minutes. So that's all my attention span. So that's good there. And I check all the boxes, you know? And so when you look at, the intentionality behind my goal as a pastor is honestly kind of to push that envelope a little bit. Like, I don't want to sing your favorite songs. And it's not because I don't like you or want you to struggle. It's because I want you to confront this thing in you that is needing something to be catered. I want you to hit that wall and then make a decision. I'm going to worship the Lord, press through, and I'm going to worship him in spite of these things.
Sacrifice of praise.
Sacrificially. And I think that's where you start and beginning to worship, And so the lights on, the lights are a little brighter and it's uncomfortable and it's like, it's weird. It's like, I feel exposed. Yeah. We're not hiding from God in a basement, the lights being a little brighter is actually intentional, because my heart is that you would feel that if I raise my hands, they're going to see me. Mm-hmm. And I want you to have that conversation in your mind. I want you to sit there and feel uncomfortable. And then what I want you to do is say, he's worth it.
Yes, come on.
I'm gonna worship anyways. I'm gonna pray through. I'm gonna praise through this, because that's when worship begins. Man, worship's been going on for 20 minutes. That's crazy. Can we wrap this thing up? My back hurts. My shoulders hurt. Let's move on. No. Now you're reaching this point that Jesus experienced in the Garden of Gethsemane when he says, "Listen, Peter, your spirit's willing, but your flesh is weak." Wow. And we're meeting that point, and we have this opportunity to say, my shoulders hurt, but I'm gonna worship, I'm gonna continue to praise the Lord. I'm gonna sing, my back hurts, I want to sit down, but I'm not gonna disengage. I'm gonna press in, and we don't get a lot of those opportunities in America. The truth is, our lives are comfortable, they're good, they're nice. We don't get a lot of opportunities to look suffering in the face, to look uncomfortable situations in the face and say, I'm still going to worship the Lord. And so in a way at church, I'm trying to kind of create a training ground for that. Mm-hmm. I want our people to meet their flesh every Sunday. Every Sunday, I want you to run into your flesh like a brick wall. And I want you to make a decision in that moment. And am I going to succumb to the weakness of my flesh, or am I going to cater to the willingness of my spirit? Yeah. And that's the distinction we make. And then that's worship. We know that to be true even as friends. What you talked about friendship, it's when do we as friends associate our friends loving us is when we see them sacrificing for us. It's oh man, you went out of your way to cancel that thing to hang out with me.
Oh my goodness.
You must really love me, It
means the world to us.
Yeah, and so imagine Jesus. It's it's easy to worship when you want to, and your favorite song's playing and the light show's going, and it's I just don't think that's that impressive to the Lord. Your favorite song's playing and all that stuff's happening. It's of course you're going to be engaged, but you don't know this song and you feel uncomfortable. Do you have something to give, And that's where the meaning begins to be emphasized in worship. And so I think my encouragement, and I know we kind of joked about this being a shorter episode, and I don't think it's going to be just because of how much I talk. But
that was great.
I think that my encouragement to Christians is begin to understand worship apart from your favorite songs.
Yes.
I have nothing against No Longer Slaves to Fear or all of these songs. Like I said, I think there are songs that are just untrue and you should not listen to them. For sure. I think the majority of songs are not worship songs. Can I listen to these cleaning the house? For sure.
They have their place.
Yes, absolutely. Have prayer time, all this stuff. But when we're talking about specifically, my objective is to worship God, then the song, you got to look for songs that talk about him and not as a boyfriend, not as a lover, as God. Yeah. And begin to declare to him who he is in a unique way, and you begin to step into worship. And so that's my encouragement to the Christian. I think that'll help really progress your deepening. And then last thing I'll say is begin to worship in your reflection, in your contemplation. That to me is the deepest most beautiful expression of worship. Like, don't read, don't listen to a podcast, don't do it. Like, just sit down on your couch and just begin to let your mind play pictures of who God is. Just
so good.
Just think about, like, I mean, and we won't practice this here, but you just begin to think about, like, even his eternal nature. You know, you start thinking about eternity too long and you just start doing loops in your mind. But do that. Like, let yourself just begin to explore the depths of who he is mentally. And what you'll find is that you're going to come to the end of your ability every time and not scratch the surface of who God is. Yeah. And that's impressive. Like, that generates worship, to think about, like, I have no framework for eternity. Like, I have no concept for what this God is like in an eternal form. That's awesome, you know? Yeah. And I know I'm rambling, but this is so good, dude.
I love this.
A.W. Tozer talks about this, and it's so amazing, because the reality is we only know things about God that we can relate to here on earth. So we only know faithfulness because we know what it's like to be faithful or unfaithful. Wow. So we only know God's, you know, omniscience. We know we can understand how somebody knows everything. You know why? Because we have an ability to obtain knowledge. So we know what that is like to possess knowledge. We understand love. We know because relationally it contextually makes sense for us. But A.W. Tozer talks about, like, God being eternal. It's not outside of him to have attributes that we have no context for. We couldn't understand him if he tried to tell them to us. Yeah. And so what we're talking about, knowing God, it's impossible for us to, like, contextualize certain aspects of who he is. And so even as you read throughout the Bible, I was talking to a friend today, God often uses our terminology and language to reveal himself. Yeah. I'm a father, I'm this. When he talks about, I regret that I put, you know, Saul as a king, he's not saying, like, literally as God, like, oh man, I made a mistake. Yeah. No, he's trying to submit to us what it feels like, or what it's like, you know? And so it's all, like, kind of metaphoric, not all, but a lot of it's metaphorical. Yeah. But, like, there could be so many things, an infinite amount of things that are true about God that he can't communicate to us because we have no framework. Exactly. That should, like, that alone, just think about that for an afternoon and sit back and just think about, like, how big this God really is. Yeah. And get lost in that. Yeah. It's so awesome. That's my favorite pastime.
Yeah. No, it's good. There's so many confusing parts in the Bible. Like, how can God regret?
Yes.
He regretted it? No, it's anthropomorphic language.
See, that was the word I was trying to use, but it didn't come to me.
No, it's good. You know, really good. But it's basically God allowing himself for us to understand. And because God's ways are way beyond ours. We can't even grasp all that God is. Yeah. You know, if the angels are circling God for eternity, singing holy, 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 and they're never tiring, because each time they're turning, they're seeing this new facet of God. Oh, how are we on earth ever going to fully? You know, we're not. It's this endless pursuit of knowing him and worshiping him, and it's not even giving him his due.
Yes, and it's not even an on-earth thing. It's for eternity. Yeah. And that's, like, you know, but I'm going to be bored in heaven. We're just going to be worshiping all day? Like, I don't want to do that. It's like, no, you don't understand. He's an endless well. Like, we'll spend eternity not scratching the surface of who God is. Yeah. And it's going to be a joy. It's going to be a joy to do that. Like, you're not going to be like, oh, is this thing almost over? Like, you're going to be lost in it, you know? Yeah. It's so good. Awesome. Love you guys.
Great. Love y'all. Bye.